I moved to Ahmedabad about 4 months ago for my internship. It was my first time living away from home, and honestly, I was excited. Two of my college friends, Aryan and Samir, moved with me. We thought it would be fun, new city, new start, independence. Finding a place to live was harder than I expected. Most landlords didn't want to rent to students, and the ones who did either asked for insane deposits or had rules like no guests and no noise after 9 p.m. Eventually, after nearly 2 weeks of searching, we found this small, two-bedroom house in a quiet residential area. It was old, but affordable, and the landlord seemed decent. We took it. From the first night though, something felt off. It's hard to explain, but the air inside that house felt heavy, almost damp. Even when everything was dry. My room, especially, felt different. There was a weird smell, not exactly bad, but faintly metallic, like rust or wet iron. I told myself it was just an old house thing. About a week after moving in, my girlfriend came to visit. The moment she entered my room, her face changed. She didn't say anything for a while. Then later, when we were leaving, she said quietly, "Don't be sad or anything, but I really don't like your house, especially your room. It's strange." I laughed it off, but her words stuck with me. One night, around midnight, I was lying in bed watching a show on my phone. I had one earphone in my right ear and the other dangling off. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. They were soft, but distinct. It sounded like someone was walking across the room slowly from the door to the far side, near the window. My bed was in the middle, so the sound passed right beside me. At first, I thought it was Aryan coming in for something, so I said, "What are you doing, Aryan?" No reply. I looked back, and the room was empty. Just as I sat up, I heard footsteps again, this time outside, near the hallway that led to the kitchen. Moments later, Aryan rushed in from the living room, his face pale. He said, "Bro, did you also hear those footsteps?" I nodded. We both just stood there, too scared to say much. That night, neither of us slept in our rooms. We crashed on the couch in the living room with the lights on. The days after that were uneasy. Aryan told me that sometimes, when he got up for water in the middle of the night, he saw someone standing in the kitchen hallway, not moving, just standing. Once, he swore he saw the figure slowly turn its head before vanishing. Samir didn't believe us at first, but then one night, while he was studying late, he heard soft knocking on the living room window. 3 knocks, then silence. When he went to check, there was no one there. A few weeks passed, and things quieted down. We started convincing ourselves it had all been our imagination. But that changed on the night of September 22nd, 2025. That it was 2:38 a.m. I remember the exact time because I checked my phone right before it happened. I'd fallen asleep watching something, and suddenly I woke up with this awful feeling like something was pressing down on me. I couldn't move for a few seconds. Then I felt it. A cold, heavy hand on the left side of my neck. It wasn't light, like air or imagination. It was solid. I could feel each finger. I froze, terrified, waiting for it to go away. When I finally moved, there was nothing there, but the numbness stayed. My skin tingled for hours afterward. I ran out into the living room, where Aryan was asleep on the couch. I didn't wake him. I just sat there, shaking, watching the clock tick. I kept feeling like someone was standing near the kitchen, just out of sight. The next morning, I told Aryan everything. He looked uneasy, then said, "Bro, last night I heard someone whispering near my ear. It sounded like an old man saying something I couldn't understand." That was when I realized whatever this was, it wasn't just me. We tried everything people suggested online. Salt near the corners, keeping lights on, even playing devotional songs. It helped for a while, but a few nights later, Samir complained that his phone screen kept turning on by itself at 3 a.m. showing the camera app. He swore he didn't touch it. Once while I was in the shower, I heard someone knock on the bathroom door. 3 slow knocks. I thought it was Aryan, so I said, "I'll be out in a minute." When I came out, both Aryan and Samir were out buying dinner. I was completely alone. Another night, I woke up and found my study chair turned toward my bed. I always keep it facing the desk. I tried not to think about it, but every night after that, I made sure to check its position before sleeping. Sometimes, in the morning, it would be turned again. Things calmed down for a few days, and we thought maybe whatever it was had left. Then one evening, as the three of us sat in the living room, the light flickered twice and went off. When it came back, the window curtain was swaying like someone had just brushed past it. The windows were closed. We didn't talk much after that. We just stayed quiet. It's October now, and we're still in that house. We can't afford to move until our lease ends, but the energy still feels wrong. Sometimes at night, I wake up thinking I heard footsteps again, or whispers near my ear. I don't know what's in this house. I've stopped trying to explain it. All I know is that something here watches us when we sleep, and sometimes I think it wants us to know it's still here. This story happened many years ago, but I still remember it clearly. Sometimes I wonder what we were really dealing with. In 2000, just after my husband and I got married, we moved into a small apartment in Somerville, South Carolina. It was simple but nice, 2 bedrooms, a small hallway, and old wooden floors. Everything felt normal at first. A few weeks later, we adopted a cat. Soon after that, we got another one. We turned the second bedroom into a cat room with their litter box, food and water bowls, scratching posts, and toys. They were playful and full of energy, so at night we kept them in their rooms so they wouldn't destroy the apartment while we slept. Not long after that, strange things started happening. Almost every night, after we turned off the lights, we heard a metallic tapping sound coming from the cat's room. The wall behind our bed was the same wall as their room, so the noise was right next to our heads. It didn't happen during the day, only at night. The sound was soft but steady, like something gently hitting metal. We couldn't figure it out. We joked that our cats were building a spaceship and planning to escape. We even blamed missing items on their space mission. Later, we started letting the cats roam around at night, but their food and litter box stayed in that extra room. One night, just as we were falling asleep, we heard a loud crash from the kitchen, like dishes falling onto the floor. We both sighed and decided to clean it up in the morning, but when we woke up, everything in the kitchen was perfectly fine. The dishes had already been put away. Nothing was broken, nothing was out of place. There was no reason for that sound. That was the first time I really felt uneasy. But the strangest moment happened one night while we were watching TV. The cats were playing, running, and jumping around the living room. Then they both stopped. They froze on opposite sides of the love seat, staring at the same spot under the window. At first, we thought they were just waiting to jump at each other, but after a few seconds, we realized something was wrong. They weren't looking at each other at all, just that one spot. Their bodies were completely stiff. My husband tried to nudge one cat with his foot, but she didn't move. I picked up the other one, thinking he would relax in my arms. He didn't. He stayed frozen, tail straight, eyes locked on the empty space under the window. Then my husband kicked his foot through the air where they were staring, and suddenly both cats relaxed at once. The one I was holding jumped down and walked away like nothing happened. The other did the same. That really scared me. Things only got weirder after that. At night, while lying in bed, I sometimes closed my eyes and saw a dark figure standing near the foot of our bed. It wasn't tall, maybe 4 feet, and it was solid, not like a shadow. It always appeared in the same spot, near the opposite wall. When I opened my eyes, nothing was there. But when I closed them again, it came back. I started feeling uncomfortable in that room, even during the day. I worked night shifts, so I came home in the morning when my husband was at work. Sometimes I could go straight to bed, but other times, the moment I stepped into the room, I felt this heavy feeling, like someone was watching me. I'd tell myself I just wasn't sleepy yet, then go lie on the couch and sleep there instead. I didn't tell my husband because I felt silly, like I was overreacting. When I sometimes found him asleep on the couch, I assumed he had just fallen asleep watching TV. Years later, after we'd moved away, we were watching a ghost show on TV. The episode was about old Native American legends from South Carolina. They showed a drawing of a short, dark figure that looked exactly like what I used to see. At the same moment, both of us pointed at the screen and said, "I saw that." We looked at each other, shocked. We had never talked about it before. He told me he used to see it too, but only when his eyes were closed. He also said that when I found him sleeping on the couch, it wasn't because he fell asleep. It was because sometimes he felt something in the bedroom with him, and he just couldn't stay there. After that, so many little things made sense. Like how our male cat always followed us down the dark hallway at night. The hallway turned at an angle, so it was pitch black near the bedrooms. Whenever one of us went to the bathroom, the cat would rush to go with us. While we were in there, he'd scratch around in the litter box, and when we came out, he'd walk us back. If we left before him, he'd stand in the doorway and meow until one of us came to walk back with him. After we moved to a new place, he never did that again. I've searched online many times, trying to find what that thing might have been, but I haven't found any story that matches exactly. The show said it was an evil spirit known in local native legends, but I can't remember the name. All I know is that, whatever it wasn't in our imagination. Both of us saw it, the cat saw it, and sometimes I still wonder if it can see us, even now. I live in Minnesota now. I moved here a year ago for my master's degree, and honestly, I've grown to love it. The area is beautiful, the people are kind, and I've built a comfortable life, good friends, a wonderful girlfriend, and a future that looks bright. I didn't expect anything unusual to happen here. The house I rent is small, just enough space for me and my cat. The rent was surprisingly cheap, which I thought was just good luck. Maybe I should have questioned that, but I've dealt with strange things before. Ever since I was a kid, I've had small paranormal experiences, sounds, objects moving, little things I could never explain. So when I found this house, I told myself, if there's something here, I can handle it. At first it was nothing serious. My hairbrush went missing and reappeared a few days later in the same spot I always kept it. Sometimes I'd notice an object slightly out of place. Small things, the kind you can ignore. A few weeks later, I invited a classmate over for dinner and drinks. We had a good evening, laughing, talking about our classes. After a few glasses of wine, she excused herself to the bathroom. When she came back, she was smiling. "What's so funny?" I asked. She laughed and said, "You're the neatest person I've ever met. The way you've lined up everything in your bathroom is almost scary." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Come see," she said. I followed her, and when I looked inside the bathroom, I froze. Every single thing, shampoo bottles, toothpaste, even my comb was lined up in a perfect, straight row, from tallest to shortest. I stared at it for a moment, then laughed awkwardly. "Nice joke," I said, assuming she had done it herself. But the confused look on her face told me she hadn't. I didn't say anything more, and we went back to finish dinner. But that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. A week later, something even stranger happened. I woke up on a Saturday morning, went to the kitchen to make coffee, and stopped dead in my tracks. Every piece of silverware I owned was laid out on the kitchen table, forks, knives, and spoons, arranged in a perfect circle, all pointing toward the center. A chill ran through me. This wasn't a joke or a coincidence anymore. I checked the doors and windows, all locked. 2 days later, I came home from class late at night. I turned on the lights, greeted my cat, and walked into the living room. What I saw made me drop my bag. All the canned food from the kitchen cupboards had been stacked in one impossibly tall tower. Next to it, every piece of furniture in the living room was piled up, one on top of another, with a small wooden chair, balanced neatly at the very top, like a twisted Christmas tree. My heart was pounding. I had heard about things like this before, poltergeist activity, people called it, but I had never seen anything like it myself. I tried to convince myself someone had broken in, but there were no signs of forced entry, and I was the only one with a key. I stood there for a long time, trying to stay calm. "It's not hurting me," I told myself, "it's just showing off." Still, I didn't feel safe. That night, my cat started acting strange. He would sit in corners, staring at nothing, his eyes following something invisible across the room. He refused to go into certain areas and hissed at empty doorways. I could feel it too. Something was there, watching. Then, one morning, I woke up and realized my cat wasn't in bed with me. That was unusual. He always slept beside me. I got up, calling his name, checking each room one by one until I reached the kitchen. And then I screamed. My cat was sitting on the floor, completely covered in red goo. My heart stopped for a second. I thought it was blood. I ran to him, terrified, but he didn't seem hurt. The smell hit me next. It wasn't blood. It was ketchup. The ketchup bottle from the fridge was open and almost empty. The cap was lying on the counter. The thing, whatever it was, had gone from moving objects to touching my pet. That was too far. I remember shouting into the air, "You're not welcome here. Leave this house. You don't belong here." I had done this before. Speaking firmly sometimes helped to clear unwanted energy, but this time, it didn't. That night, I locked my cat in my bedroom with me. I barely slept. Every sound, every creak in the house made me jump. I kept my light on and waited for morning. When I woke up, I felt exhausted and on edge. I told myself I'd look for help. Maybe a priest, maybe someone who understood haunted. I walked into the bathroom to wash my face, and that's when I saw it. The word "staying" was written over and over again on the walls in toothpaste, soap, and shampoo. It was everywhere. I stumbled backward in shock. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I looked into the hallway. The same word was scrawled there too. Then the living room. Then the kitchen. "Staying" hundreds of times, written across every surface. And on the kitchen table, perfectly balanced, was my biggest kitchen knife. But what froze me completely was the photograph on the wall, a group photo of me and some old friends. It had been torn apart, every face shredded except mine. My face had been pinned to the table with the knife, stabbed right through the eye. I didn't stay another night. I packed what I could, took my cat, and left. I never went back to that house again. Even now I don't know what that thing was, but whatever it was, it made its message clear. It wasn't leaving.